Nobody was first game. Okay, yeah, then it will be in the wrong order. But let's just go for it. Oh, you made it! Nice to see, Oxen. Welcome, welcome. Live sets dragged out for quite a bit because the restores had a 10-minute spec delay. Anyway, guys, we are here with the fourth division. Oh, I can't pronounce the TH in English. But anyway, 4th division with Cunning Linguist versus Elite Teutonic Spite. Now, the first thing I want to do is introduce the teams here. So let's start with Cunning Linguists here. And I'm using AOE2.net as the basis here. In the pocket for Cunning Linguist here is Pinky299. Pinky299 is at 1052 1v1 rating from what I could gather, and I think that is their peak rating as well. We have the Franks, great pocket save, fantastic mobility in the Knights, good early and good early economy, good economy throughout the game as a whole, and that mobility should be seen coming into play from Frank's pocket to provide Knights later on into Paladins on either side here. On the left-hand side, we have Oxen playing as the Vikings. So you often see as flank because they have a great economy and they are pretty common archers. Civ you'd open usually with some kind of infantry, maybe Drush, men-at-arms, or just in a team game go straight for the archers, which is easier for Vikings to sustain considering that they get wheelbarrow and hand cart for instantly. Throughout reaching fuel and cast stages. That just saves them a lot of research time in the TC. Effectively 5 villagers worth of creation, I think, for wheelbarrow. So gives you an edge there. Oxen is currently at 1074 and I believe that's their peak rating as well. You could double check that if the exclamation mark rank and the player's name command works in chat. But Oxen here in the red with Vikings, and Oxen confirms. Thank you. So Vikings here, likely to go archers on the flank here. Finally, the last player of Cunning Linguist for this match is Randy Panda playing as Koreans. So after the recent buff Koreans received, they get the archers upgrades instantly from the blacksmith. So that means that Koreans archers are absolutely viable now. You go into the feudal age, you'd have the armor for free, so you'd win fights easily in equal numbers. And it also applies to the war wagons. If you go for the massed war wagons play, you'd also have that armor instantly, never needing to think about it. Obviously saving you some resources for the research as well, something that is potentially negligible in the big picture overall. Well, that's it for Cunning Linguists. Let's introduce the other team as well. We have Elite Teutonic Spite here. With the pocket, Hans pocket in I make better potatoes than Sash. I don't think I'll repeat that nickname forever. It's a pretty long one. I might just refer to green for the pocket here. But playing Hans pocket here, I make better potatoes than Sash. I couldn't find any 1v1 rating on AOE2.net from this player, so we just have to go with it. Might have a team game rating, but I feel like that's not really saying too much of a player's skill level. So no rating for this guy. Could be anything, could be very solid, could be different. He goes by potatoes. Yeah, good point. I could call him potatoes. A bit of an unlucky border here, but at least doesn't lose any villagers. So that's going to be a long walk for the villagers, but food income definitely there. Hunts, never needing houses, save a lot of wood, not needing to build those houses. So even though they start with a little bit less wood, you'd have an easier time to place farms, to place your production buildings, and spew out army without ever needing to think about getting pop capped until you're at 200. So Hunts can sometimes have an easier time outmassing enemies because of that. Now for the left-hand side, for Elite Teutonic Spite here is Mapo or Mapo playing as Koreans as well. So we have a Koreans mirror on our hands here. And yeah, as mentioned, gets armor upgrades instantly. Mapo is 1287 1-1, so probably the highest rated player in this matchup. And has actually peaked at 1391. So that's a bit of an elo spike between the players that could be seen seen as a huge advantage here. But he does play flank and does not play pocket. That sort of limits the aggression potential from Mapo after all. So we'll sort of have to commit to the left-hand side, maybe take out the other flank here and buy time for I make better potatoes to get to those Huns, Knights, or Cavouchers, or whatever the plan is. And finally, on the right-hand side, we have 3,000 hours here. Didn't find a 1v1 rating for this player either, but in any case, places the Britons here, great flank civ. Once we get to the cast stage, Britons will instantly get +1 range, and they are definitely a civ that will go archers 99 out of 100 times. Already going to gold here, looks like a straight archers build for 3,000 hours here with 22 pop. So we're going to have a decent uptime here against Randy Panda getting up at a roughly similar time. But that Britain's power spike doesn't really kick in until cast stage with that extra range. Same for the fact that Britain's archery ranges have a team bonus that has their archery ranges work 20% faster for all of the players. Means that Mapo on the left hand side will have an easier time massing his first archers as well. So Feudal Age kicks in for many of the players here. I'm assuming it's I was going to say I'm assuming scouts for the pockets, but from the looks of it, green here is going to go for some type of a fast castle approach here. It didn't place any farms yet, is floating in lots of wood here, so that's something that could have been, there's some improvement potential there. You never want to float wood in Dark Age or Feudal Age, or in general don't want to float lots of resources, just spend them on army, on farms, on production, and keep pumping out those villagers. Feudal Age is going to go up at 30 population for potatoes here, and all in all, that is going to provide a very good economy going into feudal and cast age for the Huns players. Maybe not a bad call if they are not subject to early aggression here, but there are also no walls whatsoever, rendering their economy extremely vulnerable to scouts forward from Pinky on the other pocket side here. I think the best call Pinky could make right now is just to send those scouts straight over the other side. Let's see if they have the scouting intel here. Okay, pretty limited scouting intel for Pinky, but Randy Panda has some intel here. They haven't really scouted the pocket. Let's see for Maple in the end as well. Same situation. Okay, so scouting is really lacking for the team players here, but with this Frank's mobility, just make sure to scout your opponent, and if the pocket on the other side is so far behind to the feudal age, you know they're not going scouts, they won't have any army. If they, in addition to that, is not wall, just run in with whatever army you have, go straight for the pocket, and eliminate the mobility potential of the Franks. That is easily the best thing they could do now, but looks like they are assembling up on the left side here for a coordinated effort on Mapo, the yellow player, who is admittedly the highest rated one elo-wise as well. So it's certainly a good call to go on Mapo as well, considering that he is by far the strongest player. Oxen here with the militia, also called Angry Housewives on my channel, hitting the walls here. And they're going for a coordinated effort with scouts and archers here. Looking good so far. No fletching in just yet. Obviously no upgrades on the Franks scouts either. That's going to be something for a later point. And again, with the mobility of scouts, like the pocket here, you could justify... I mean, one thing is to keep the army together. Of course, you want that and try and take the better fights here. The Oxen backs off, that's good. But since you have the mobility and speed in the scouts, just sacrifice one of the scouts to loop around here. And try and see if the walls are complete or not. Because there should still be potential for the scouts to enter. Then you could just send all of the army around and even maybe catch Mapo a little bit off guard here and get a villager or two, or at the very least force some quick walls. Army situation is looking better for Cunning Linguist here though. It's 11 army for each of the flanks here, and then 4 scouts from the pocket. Doing a good job at microing and putting them away as well. Let's look at Randy Panda's side here. Quite a few archers pushing, and stone walls for 3,000 hours here. Really doesn't want any run-ins of Frank's scouts and knights here later on. Those admittedly aren't Saracen's archers, so it's going to take them a while to get through the walls here, and already preemptive walls going up for 3000 hours in the back here. Let's see if he can fend off this aggression from this 11-man large army of Randy Panda. I think Randy Panda might be looking at some villager snipes here. Nice way of limiting the aggression here, though, to have some villagers walling, unfortunately, on the wrong side of the wall, resulting in a couple of villagers' losses for 3000 hours. Pinky here with scouts on the other side now. That's a good call to see that the walls aren't finished. This could be a villager snipe, actually. Alright, great work there from the pocket player scouts. Getting a pick off, running into mass archers of the Korean player now, though, so we'll have to back off again. And Oxen is in with his archers on this side. We are looking at larger numbers for Mapo here, but it's only by 4. But looking at Oxen's numbers here, for me personally, when I know I'm up against Koreans on flank, I try to stress that armor upgrade. You don't usually do that for ranged units, but you know that the Koreans is going to have it instantly if you're familiar with the new patch, so you just almost as if you should prioritize that before fletching. Not before, of course, but as soon as humanly possible, because in equal numbers you lose this fight, and in smaller numbers obviously you're going to lose it even harder. Pity that the scouts got lost there, because otherwise we could see some hit and run micro from Oxen and the scouts working together there. But backs off towards the hills, which is a good call as well. Will have the hill damage against any archers moving in this direction now. Randy Panda is still inside and forcing the Brits player into skirms now. You don't see that a lot in team games. Green Potatoes here is with 36 population total. That's the initial scout, and Castle Age well on the way. Not the first one though. Frank's player, even investing into the early scouts, is first to the Castle Age here. So yeah, archer numbers increasing for Mapo here. Looking at the military numbers, 23 supreme military lead here for Mapo. Also actually almost with a villager lead here, only Randy Panda with more villagers total. So Randy Panda doing a great job with Koreans on the other side as well to sustain economy while going for masses of army as well. Defensive tower from 3000 hours holding on here is going to go for the gold now. The issue being only 7 military, and that is mainly skirms. Will pick off some Koreans numbers here, but there are more archers to come and to make the collection more awkward here. Camping on the gold here, good job by Randy Panda to restrict this gold. The unfortunate situation being that the main gold of the 3000 hours is quite close to the TC here. One criticism would be maybe to place the tower in a way that it kind of covers both gold and woodline here. But that's just something to think about. Hard to think about in the middle of everything now, walling off and fending off the aggression here. Oxen with 19 archers on the hill has some knight support from the flanks with the first armor and attack on the way. Rule of thumb for cavalry civs is you always go for the armor first. And now looks like attack was the first thing upgraded here. And when you have the Castle Age advantage like this, both Oxen and Pinky are in the Castle Age. Just dive in and try and trade so many units as possible, because the Korean is still only in the Feudal Age here and is 50% along the way. You have a chance of a lifetime to pick off a lot of Korean archers here now. Even with that instant armor, you have more range, you have more damage output. It's a good thing to dive in now with knights and archers, even if the knights are missing the +2. Forcing a defensive tower is great as well. And yeah, overall looks like a very nice fight for Oxen and Pink here. Good teamwork. I'm going to have a look at the right-hand side here. We have Frank's Knight chasing down Randy Panda's Feudal Age units, unfortunately. Fighting on his own here and losing literally all of the military here, which is extremely bad news with these numbers of Frank's Knights, with the +2 even. So the Huns late castle age pays off here, not really spending these resources consistently on production. You'd think that with 3 stables now, even Huns faster working stables, the eco setup is decent, missing maybe a few on gold to support multiple stables production. But just remember, as long as you have the resources, just keep pumping out army, so you will gain the army advantage. I mean, with the faster working stables here, this army number could easily be almost a double if there were a few more villagers on gold here. Still great fight by Potatoes down here to take out literally all of the Korean players' army in their side here. Castle Age is in, second town center going up, and also going to a bit of stone here, suggesting maybe a war wagon switch later on. We have a Cunning Linguist with the score lead though, maybe more kills overall looks like, except for Randy Panda losing all of the army there. The KD looks pretty. Oxen risk losing numbers over here now, is being outmasked by the Korean player here who also has that +2 armor, something that Oxen has gone into as well, so that's some good awareness there, remembering to prioritize that +2 armor for the crossbows in the Castle Age. Frank's Knights with only +1 here and outnumbered. That is a real ugly fight for Oxen, and Pinky, unfortunately, will be needing more army presence here to deal with this kind of pressure. So looking at the pockets position here, Huns, they have a harder time walling than other civilizations. You can't really use houses to wall, so you see the production buildings here making up for sort of a wall for Potatoes here. But now Pinky is scouting a little bit down here, knows the pocket's location now. I think it's the time to look for an opening, not just assume that Potatoes is fully walled here, just send in some of those Frank's Knights and try and get some serious hits in on Potatoes' economy here. Scout is gathering some valuable intel now, so maybe we'll see some raids later on. Considering that the base of the pocket here is completely open, this would be 10 dead villagers right here with 5 or 6 Frank's Knights in the economy here. Army numbers kind of worrying now for Cunning Linguist here, because it's Maple with 27, mainly archers, accompanied by a huge chunk of Huns, Knights, and a few scouts here. They're not going to break through just yet, but with crossbow support here, quick walling will be just so much harder. Pinky with the current stone situation is able to afford a castle, though I think that should go, for example, here to protect this gold and have the hill to fall back to. Or somewhere inside the base to limit raids if the enemy at some point goes for a raid on you. So it looks like Potatoes and Maple will break in here. They are dealing some serious pressure to Oxen here now. Oxen, for the time being, only on 1 TC with Vikings, but with 45 villagers total, so has some eco working for him. Military numbers are worrying though, only 3 or 4 military here for Oxen, and losing the last few crossbows here. Will be desperate for help from the pocket now, who has the +2/+2 and will be stronger than the Hunt's Knights overall here. But not at the cost of Oxen not losing villagers here, as the second TC is going up on the wood line. Hopefully in time to garrison if the aggression comes in this direction. I think the crossbows will still pick off quite a few more villagers here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's some good trades for Maple here, still with almost 40 army inside of Oxen's base here, and 10 Frank's Knights and a few crossbows aren't going to fight that off easily. Yeah, all the villagers building this TC goes down, and Oxen is down to 34 villagers, his lowest of all here now. Thankfully, his teammates are still sustaining pretty good economies here, so there's might still be a way back. Pinky here with a few knights already on the other side as well. So that's good, getting some raids in on the Britain's player here, also keeping their military numbers at the minimum. It's a slaughter. It's lots of army inside of Oxen's base here. Even Viking Eco, if you lose 20 villagers just like that, you're in a really rough spot to come back from. And we'll look at the ecos here as well. Oxen really low on resources overall, cannot afford another TC, cannot afford a castle. Basically can barely produce at all here now. Pinky, on the other hand, from the pocket position, is keeping consistent Knights production here. And yeah, they'll do their very best to fight off this army. I think if economy is of the issue here for Oxen, you'd ask your teammates for some resources, drop down a siege workshop or something, or do whatever you can to fight off this crossbow mass. Still a few raids in the Britain space and skirmishers, no match for knights, obviously. Unless you let them hit them for free like that. We have a forward castle by Randy Panda, assuming some control on the hill here, and has some crossbows pushing here, quite a significant mass actually, whereas 3,000 hours is with only 5 military, lowest of all here, going to struggle as well if the knight raids and crossbows keep pushing here. I'd love to see some siege added here to deal with the buildings, maybe a couple of mangonels to try and take out TCs, for example, and idle this gold as well, because without gold, there's not much Britons can do. Their TCs are cheaper though, so 3 TCs for Britons is a very common sight, whether it be flank or not. Pinky and Maple seem content on the damage they've caused, pulling back some of their armies, and with some, yeah, very decent KD for Pinky here. Now I'm messing up the numbers. Pinky is pulling to chase the crossbows here, so I think they fended off the archers and knights forward of Potatoes and Maple finally. And again, I have to say, aside from Oxen's bad situation here of losing a lot on the flank position, it's a huge villager lead for Cunning, or not huge, but at least there is a villager lead, and the ecos of both Pinky and Randy Panda look somewhat healthy here, albeit they're not really spending the resources. Pinky could go Imperial Age now if the buildings are in place. Here comes the University Monastery. You'd argue that Pinky could have gone for a castle earlier on as well, just drop the castle. That counts as 2 buildings, and then you could get up. And they say blue base. Ah, here are the Knights of Potatoes. Makes sense after all these crossbows forward here from Randy Panda that the pockets comes to rescue instead after having dealt so much damage up north. So definitely a castle that will never see its finish here. I hope Randy Panda deletes it in time, at least for some stone returns here. Yeah, castle goes down. Pinky on the raids now though. And I think the town bell might have been rung here because it's lots of villagers idled for Potatoes here now. 66 villagers, 37 idols. Randy Panda in Imperial Age though, that allows for the Korean arbalests or even the elite war wagons if that's the play here. And these knights raids are causing some damage, but Potatoes is bringing back some of his own green knights and will clean this up eventually. Same upgrades on the knights now, +2/+2. So shouldn't be an issue anymore. Wood situation is a bit inefficient for Potatoes here though. Would have to consider dropping a new lumber camp here to optimize the wood income. Might actually be struggling a little bit for wood here with everything. See, 19 lumberjacks, but not really that much wood in the bank. Let's see the north side again. We have Korean war wagons at work from Maple here. And with crossbows accompanying them, there's not much a few knights can do here. Knights generally deal okay with war wagons if they are in somewhat equal numbers because of the lower melee armor of the war wagons. But in numbers like this, of course, we need roughly similar numbers of knights to contest that. Villagers forward still for Randy Panda. Are we going to look at another castle drop here? Lots of stone in the bank here for Randy Panda. And with more castles up, I think we could be looking at some war wagons push here. Now with arbalest and war wagons to cover this castle dropper. And it's an amazing castle, honestly, because if this castle goes up, it's going to effectively deny 2 TCs, lots of farms, stone and gold. It's an extremely ballsy forward castle, but if it goes up, it's going to be just huge. But that was almost to the point of being denied there with the TC firing away at the first few villagers building it. So far, all good though. But Hunt's Knights here is going to be a huge issue. They will spread out. Randy Panda tries for some quick walls here with the houses. Going to keep the Knights pathing out for now, but there are still a few Britain's crossbows here to hopefully make sure that all the villagers go down, so the castle again doesn't go up in this area. Some more arbalest here, but army numbers are of a concern for both teams, honestly. Maple being the one supplying the most here with an extensive amount of war wagons. Still crossbows though, still Castle Age, whereas both Randy Panda and Pinky are in the Imperial Age here. Yep, Pinky gets a Frank's castle up in Oxen space. I love that, using the Frank's cheaper castles for some defensive approaches. And even more villagers going forward. Townbell is wrong. Where the heck are the Hunt's Knights? Did they all go down? No. No, no, no. Where are the Hunt's Knights? We have only 8 military for potatoes here, and he is not in a spot to help taking out this castle anymore. I think this castle goes up. As I said, it's an amazing castle. It reaches 2 TCs, lots of farms here. Leaves this stone up for the grabs for Randy Panda as well. It could really extend this even further. You see upgrades and Trebs, ballistics coming in here. Admittedly, a bit of a late ballistics when Arbalest is already in. But the important thing is to get the upgrades here. But I have to state again that when you have so many resources in the bank, either consider sending to help out your enemy. I mean, in this situation, Randy Panda can sling some resources to Oxen for Oxen to be able to produce more military of his own, or simply reboom. Or you spend those resources on your production, just drop a few more archery ranges with your excess wood here. Use your castles to mass war wagons, just queue up 30 of them right away, and then just, yeah, go ahead. My quick wall into the corner, kill them all. Nice. Alright, good work. Maple on the way to the Imperial Age though, getting Thumbring now, Squires, so he's going to into some kind of infantry play here as well. Maybe Halberdiers against the Frank's Cavalier. This is some flares in the corner. I think that indicates a market for Cunning Linguist here. That's a good choice at this stage of the game as well. You want that consistent gold income for the late game. But look at the resource setups here, right? Slinging is allowed, so make sure to make use of it if you have one player having so many excess resources. But first and foremost, spend the resources on your production. I see war wagons in queue here now, but not multiple of them. Only like a few at a time here. Just shift and hotkey for queuing up war wagons out of both these castles, and all of a sudden you have a mass of 30 war wagons on your hand. But yeah, that resource spending is an issue for lots of players, myself included, but it's much more easier to notice when casting, obviously. So we have a pretty serious war wagons push here on the Franks player. The Knights seem out of position. We're going for a forward cast by Oxen here though, to secure some golds here. I like that. However, with Koreans Mapo in the Imperial Age, that should be an easy target from the hill here with his traps. Randy Panda is doing some serious work down the south here now. The TCs have gone down to Castle and Trap Fire. War wagons in the mix here. And some war wagons being hunted down by Cavaliers here as well. Yeah, lots of castles this game, but that's good. Could go into the unique unit play here, if needed. I love the team walls as well that are about to go up here. That's going to secure the trade route to some extent. All the players putting up markets here. And yeah, preferably a few more in the top there and you're good to go. Cavaliers will have to be careful here, even with the Imperial Age upgrades, to chase the units over here. That's going to be some free kills from Mapo here with his superior army masses. Oxen is getting back into it though. It's still in the Castle Age, and again, if Oxen would, here's the Imperial Age tick, but with some more slinging could have had even more army or an earlier Imperial Age and Arbalests here. 3000 hours is still in the cast stage with 72 population, lowest of all now. Oxen doing a great job with the reboom, and Vikings have an easier time rebooming, admittedly, with their economic advantages. We have 3 TCs here pumping out villagers out of at least 2 of them. And yeah, farm eco being extended as well, and general pretty balanced eco here for what looks like mainly archers production. What I think Oxen could consider in the Imperial Age here is going for the siege rams to tank some fire off the what's probably going to be Arbalest and elite war wagons of the Koreans player Meipo here. See, the crossbows aren't nearly cutting it here. War wagons have such high pierce armor, so you'd have to back off towards the castle and wait for maybe some more Franks Cavalier. Paladin on the way actually for Pink is 25 military, so we'll certainly have a strong option against the war wagons and the enemy forward here. On the south side we see Randy Panda continuing his push here, castle on the hill again, great. But we have Hunt's Paladins in the mix now, and Better Potatoes is with 43 military total. From the looks of it, I think that might be mainly Paladins here. Let me check his stats actually. 43 cavalry, 43 paladins most likely for Potatoes here. Has some cavalries up north. Actually not using them at the moment. Just break this gate and run in and raid like crazy. And you'd be dealing some serious damage on Oxen's eco here. But of course you'd be stressed out with enemy forward at home as well. So that's something that you most certainly need to address here. Paladins, as we can see, they're doing nicely against single war wagons here. But in large groups, the war wagons would still deal good collective damage against the Paladins. Castle is helping out too, for sure. But we see consistent, at least triple stable production from Green here as well. Lots and lots of Cavalier in the making for Pinky as well. Let's have a look at their eco behind all this. Queuing up lots of units, and yeah, has a way to go until top capped, so... But I love the queuing up of lots of units here to extend those army masses. Fighting down might take out the Korean castle here, which is a great job. Here comes Bracer for Oxen, but Oxen really needs Arbalest here as well for maximum damage output. Again, just communicate with your teammates, say, I need these resources for Arbalest, please send me if you can, and then you suddenly you have Arbalest just like that. Britain's unique tech coming in here for 3000 hours. I think that's the Yeoman for extra archers range. Some longbows in the mix as well. And yeah, defensive castles going up here with in pocket, and maybe here pretty close, working together to secure these resources here. Halberdiers are in the making for the Koreans. No, they're not the best Halberdiers in the game. They're still pretty strong overall, though, against cavalry like this. Right now, though, missing the attack upgrades, so not maximum potential from those. But looking at the... What happens to... Exactly, here we have the Paladin raids from the Huns player. Up against the Franks Paladins here, similar stats, but more numbers for Potatoes here. Takes out 1 TC. They're going to render Oxen's economy in shambles again if these raids continue. Great additions from Pinky though, and if... let's have a look here if Pinky has the unique tech for Franks here, because if Chivalry is in, then the stables will be working even faster for... Or we will be working faster for Franks here. So that's a good one to get for Franks when you can afford it as well. Chivalry, stable production will 40% faster. Right now, as it stands, the Huns have a production advantage because their stables work 20% faster. But with Chivalry for Franks, you'd take advantage over Huns in the production potential. I mean, the production is higher. Or actually, there's no production whatsoever from Potatoes right now. But for Pinky, it could have been even smoother with Chivalry to back it. Another castle going forward for Randy Panda here. Quite a few war wagons, now elite war wagons in the mix as well. Overall ecos, Potatoes here is floating lots of resources, although struggling with the population right now. Could still produce quite a bit of army from the looks of it. We have a mix of skirms and long bows here from the Britain's player, who has essentially reboomed over here to great extent, actually, in between his two teammates here. And we have a flare over here, something going on. Lots of exposed economy here from Maipo. Imagine if Pinky would find out about this and sent 4 or 5 paladins into here to pick off potentially 30, 40, 50 villagers here. We have trade running for Cunning Linguist here, isn't it? Or no, is it a... Let's have a look. I'm missing up the names. Yeah. Cunning Linguist has trade running. That's going to help. There's gold income in the long run here, bringing in probably a good amount of gold per trip here, given the market's distance here. And here we see the GG call, and we have 1-0 for Cunning Linguist here. So Maple calls to GG, well played, exclamation mark. Did his best to push here, but the reboom of Oxen was very strong with Vikings here, getting back into the game, whereas for 3000 hours and Potatoes here had more trouble getting back into it after these strong raids. Let's have a look at the stats here, and we'll dive into the next and last game cast for today after having browsed through the stats. Great work by Cunning Linguist. So I'd argue that there's potentially a higher average elo and elite Teutonic spite, but lots of the team members don't have an actual 1v1 rating, so I wouldn't be too sure either. 1000 hours, not providing all that much here with 37 deaths and 106 units lost, but overall good stats here for both teams in terms of attack and defense. Back and forth fighting for sure. A little bit of tribute sent here, so that's a good addition to Oxen's economy to facilitate the reboom. Most sling received, that's the real MVP, yeah, exactly. And looking at the up times here as well, pretty, actually, surprisingly strong straight cast age for the Huns player here, Potatoes. The issue being when you're not full wall, that's so easily punished by the Franks player going scouts if the scouting is on point, because then you just force the Huns player to kick wall and cause their eco to not make that fast castle as easy after all. 4 relics even for Pinky here, so good map awareness there to bring in the relics for some gold boost as well. Villager counts overall seem higher for Cunning Linguist here. That makes the eco situation better for the long run as well.